You think you're trading probabilities, but you're still chasing certainty. Every click is a silent prayer. Please let me be right. And in that moment, you stop being a trader. You become a believer. The market doesn't punish bad analysis. It punishes need. And your need to be right is the most expensive addiction in this game. There's a quiet comfort in believing you can see what comes next. It's the calm before a trade, the illusion that your analysis has turned chaos into something predictable. You line up the candles, trace the levels, find the confluence, and for a brief moment it feels like you've captured the market inside a frame. The mind relaxes. You feel safe, certain, ready. But what you're really chasing isn't certainty, it's relief. Every prediction is an attempt to make the unknown less frightening. The charts are not maps of opportunity, they're mirrors reflecting how much control you need to feel before you can act. You study not because you're curious, but because you're afraid of being surprised. Deep down, every trader wants to believe they've earned the right to feel safe in a place where safety doesn't exist. It's a subtle addiction. The mind becomes hooked on patterns that promise comfort, not truth. You start mistaking familiarity for edge. And that's when clarity begins to fade. Because the market doesn't repeat itself to reward you. It repeats itself to test whether you've learned to stop expecting it to behave. When your self-worth depends on being right, every tick becomes emotional data. A small loss feels like exposure. A breakout against you feels personal. You tell yourself it's about precision, but really it's about protection. Protecting the fragile belief that certainty can still be earned. And that's the invisible prison most traders never see, the pursuit of being right as a substitute for feeling safe. But safety and mastery cannot coexist. The more you need to be right, the less you see. Every trader learns this lesson eventually, but most learn it the hard way. You start the trade convinced you've read the market correctly. You've done your work, everything aligns, and still, it slips away. A perfect setup turns against you. You hesitate, justify, hold, adjust. The loss grows, and with it, the voice inside that refuses to admit you were wrong. It's not the money that hurts. It's the identity that cracks. You don't chase accuracy because you love truth. You chase it because you hate uncertainty. You want to turn the market into a place where being right can protect you from discomfort. But the market doesn't exist to reward correctness. It exists to test your capacity for neutrality. Every time you react to a loss with emotion, you prove you're not trading the chart anymore. You're trading your self-image. And that's the tragedy of most traders. They confuse control with confidence. They think mastery is about predicting what comes next, but real mastery is the absence of that need. The more you try to force certainty, the more fragile you become. You start micromanaging every candle, rewriting plans mid-trade, measuring your worth by temporary outcomes. The process becomes heavy. Your edge disappears beneath the weight of emotional noise. The market will always show you two things at once: what it's doing and what you believe about it. If you're desperate to prove you're right, that belief filters everything you see. You ignore data that contradicts you. You find confirmation in noise. You call it conviction, but it's really blindness. The truth was there. You just couldn't afford to see it, because seeing it meant admitting you don't control anything here. You think your fear is about losing money. It's not. It's about losing certainty, the one thing the market will never give you. And the irony is cruel. The tighter you hold on to control, the faster it slips through your hands. Until one day you realize that the moment you stop needing to predict, the noise fades. Clarity returns. And trading stops being a battle to be right. It becomes a practice of responding correctly. There's a quiet moment that happens after enough pain, when the mind finally stops arguing with reality. You no longer need the chart to agree with you. You no longer need to prove that your analysis was perfect. You simply watch. You start to notice that every loss, every unexpected move, every reversal that once felt like betrayal was just information. Nothing personal, nothing moral, just movement. That's the moment your relationship with the market begins to change, because you realize that mastery has nothing to do with prediction and everything to do with adaptation. The professional doesn't need to be right. They need to be ready. Readiness means acceptance. It means acting with full commitment without demanding a specific outcome in return. This is where discipline starts to feel different. It stops being a rule you try to obey and becomes a rhythm you learn to follow. You prepare, you plan, you execute, you take the stop with the same composure you take the win, because both are part of the same system, the same flow of probability. You stop calling trades good or bad. You start calling them executed or not. Every time you release the need to be right, something powerful happens. Energy returns. All the tension that used to drain you, gone. The internal noise that made you second guess, hesitate, or panic, silent. The market hasn't changed, but you have. You've stopped resisting what is, and that resistance was the only thing that ever caused pain. The truth is, uncertainty was never the enemy. Your attachment to certainty was. You thought being wrong was failure, but it was just feedback. You thought letting go meant weakness, but it was freedom. And in that clarity, you discover the paradox of consistency. The less you try to control the market, the more control you gain over yourself. Every trader wants control, but the market only rewards surrender. Not surrender as defeat, but as understanding. You stop fighting what you can't change and start mastering what you can. Your response. Execution is not about control, it's about synchronization. The professional doesn't try to bend price to his will. He aligns his behavior with its rhythm. He stops needing the market to behave and starts behaving correctly within the market. Surrender doesn't mean passivity. It means precision. It means every decision is made before emotion can interfere. The trade either meets your criteria or it doesn't. You execute or you don't. There's no gray area, no almost, no maybe, no let's see. That's where amateurs live. The disciplined trader operates in black and white. Preparation decides, emotion only observes. This is why mechanical clarity feels like freedom. When the mind no longer negotiates, hesitation dies. When hesitation dies, emotion has no foothold. What remains is flow, the state every trader claims to seek but few understand. Flow is not confidence. Flow is absence of resistance. It happens when execution becomes obedience to truth, not obedience to fear. The irony is that most traders try to earn flow through intensity. They grind harder, analyze more, look for the next secret that will make the market predictable. But flow doesn't come from more information. It comes from less interference. It comes from stripping away every belief that makes you argue with price. True professionals trade like musicians. They've rehearsed so much that execution is reflex. But what looks automatic is actually alignment. Every movement synchronized with structure. Every note intentional. The amateur still plays to impress. The master plays to understand. That's what execution as surrender really is. Mastery without ego. And once you taste that stillness, you'll never want to trade any other way, because you realize that discipline was never about control. It was about trust. Trust in your preparation. Trust in your process. Trust in your ability to act without needing the market to agree. At some point, every trader has to decide what game they're really playing. If you're still trying to be right, you're playing the game of ego. If you're learning to respond, you're playing the game of mastery. The market doesn't care which one you choose, but your results will. You can spend years building systems and still crumble because one part of you refuses to accept uncertainty. You'll call it intuition or patience, but deep down, it's avoidance, the refusal to let go of control. And as long as you seek emotional safety more than truth, you'll keep repeating the same cycle: hope, hesitation, regret, repeat. The turning point comes when you finally stop asking the market for validation. When you no longer need it to make you feel capable, smart, or redeemed. You stop chasing certainty like a child begging for approval. You start accepting reality as it is: neutral, unpredictable, honest. That's when trading stops being a fight and becomes a mirror. The trader who believes they must control outcomes will forever swing between pride and despair. The one who accepts uncertainty finds peace inside volatility. Not because the game got easier, but because they stopped arguing with its nature. This is the quiet evolution. From fear to flow, from resistance to rhythm. You don't eliminate uncertainty. You integrate it. You learn to walk with it, breathe with it, trade with it. That's the shift. From trying to predict the next candle to trusting the next action. From reacting to participating. From surviving to observing. And maybe that's the hidden architecture of trading. Not the setup, not the signal, not the strategy. It's the structure inside your mind that decides whether every trade becomes chaos or clarity. Once that belief shifts, everything else follows. You don't trade the chart. You trade the conversation between your mind and uncertainty, and every hesitation, every impulse, every moment of doubt is that conversation trying to teach you something. The question is, are you listening? Mastery doesn't happen when you stop feeling. It happens when feeling no longer controls your next move, when you can act inside fear, not in spite of it. That's where the real transformation begins. This was belief architecture number 2. Stop trying to be right. The next belief runs even deeper, because it's not about what you see on the screen, but about what you believe you're seeing. Watch the next episode in the Hidden Architecture of Trading playlist, and keep walking through your own blueprint. Because once you start redesigning the mind behind the trade, the market finally starts making sense.